I kind of left the last one on a cliffhanger. So, what are these unique angles that would allow you to get in front of the right people without it being weird, but also taking this kind of unique approach and boosting it for you? So, in an example where you were to show up at somebody's office, this is what somebody actually did. This is Lucas from Lithuania. He showed up as a Postmates delivery driver and delivered 40 different boxes of donuts with his resume taped inside, and basically this little kitschy note: most resumes end up in the trash, mine in your belly. And basically he's saying, like, hey, I pretended to be a Postmates driver to ensure my resume was delivered to you personally. So out of 40 deliveries in Silicon Valley, he managed to get 10 different meetings and ultimately landed a job directly from this. Now, this is one example, and this was back in October of 2016. Other people see that out in the wild and they're like, oh, I can totally do that. And they do, and it works. So there's an example of somebody dropping off chocolate bars with their resume kind of added in there. There's a version of a resume cake. And shocker, everything old is new again. So as recently as March 9th, this was a viral video I found on TikTok of somebody dropping off their resume plastered as a cake on top of a cake. And yeah, like, this stuff is not new, but it continues to work because not everybody has seen this before. So literally, if you did this today with the company you would absolutely love to work with, you'll probably get a call back. There's lots of different ways of taking a creative angle or a creative format and putting your resume into an environment that either takes the company's service or the product itself and basically goes, here's my resume and my work experience wrapped up in your product because I dig you guys. It shows that you took time to really get creative, but also to infuse their product with you, showing like, hey, I'm your boy, or I'm for you. So an example of that is this guy that created PhilDub, which is basically like a play on Amazon, and it was his entire portfolio and all the work experience within an Amazon format. This person did a job application, Leah, for Lego, and basically created an entire really nice, creative infographic of her work experience. There's lots of different presentations that end up on SlideShare that I think are really cool ways of presenting your resume, work experience, and background and skills through the company's lenses so that they're like, oh my God, that's like us, and they took the time. There's also lots of stuff that really works that's even simpler than that. So a viral portfolio video of basically showing your personality paired with why you would love to work with a specific company or just you in general. Have seen so many versions of these, and yeah, some hit, some don't. By the way, everything that I'm showing here is linked, so you can click through and actually see the examples themselves. Another one that I think is kind of gimmicky, but like, I've seen people do this with AI now with Sonos, which is basically like a hire me viral song specific to the company that you're applying to. It takes literally no effort and a handful of cents, like credits on these platforms, to basically create a viral song. You don't know if somebody's going to listen to it, but it's a really interesting way of approaching a company in order to get a job. I saw somebody that was my age, actually a couple years younger, when Groupon was a big thing in Washington, D.C., and they managed to get the job because they knew how to play the guitar and sing. And yeah, hey, more power to them. By the way, again, all of these are linked. Targeted ads is a really interesting approach. And I learned of this by Josh Fetchner, who is still an amazing growth hacker. And basically, he created a bunch of ads that were targeted at Facebook. And it was any employee at Facebook would potentially see these ads. And oddly enough, people started reaching out to him from Facebook like, hey, I saw your job ad, super interested to talk to you. Now, there's no guarantee that every time you do something like this, you're going to see results. I've seen people try to do this where they do a very targeted ad on the exact name of either CEOs or hiring managers, and every once in a while people are Googling themselves. The way that you kind of add value on top of it or make sure to drive home the point is sending out an email, either through a burner email or anonymously, or even through your own, saying, hey, I don't know if you're aware, but somebody's targeting your company and your employees, or even the CEO specifically, with these types of ads. I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you guys knew this was going on, but you should check it out. Meanwhile, it's you And you're like, oh yeah, well, now that we're talking, I would love to have a conversation with you guys to see if we're a fit. That unique angle and that approach is not what everybody else is doing. If you take the time to do something unique, and sometimes you have to come out of pocket just a bit, there is a lot that can happen there. I would say this is like, I don't know. Millennials are known for kind of getting cringy on stuff. I think this is super cringy. It demonstrates desperation to me, but I've seen so many different articles and news stories about people that do this. And then you follow up like later on some of these stories because like it happens every news cycle, like literally once every 6 months. There's a story about this. This actually doesn't work at all. It's just really expensive. And so it's like people pay $5,000 to put a giant sign up of themselves, and then they're shocked that like nobody's reaching out to them directly. You're not targeting enough. I think it's just, yeah, it's desperate. It's not clever. I think this is also similar where it's cringy and maybe outside of kind of the wheelhouse or spectrum of expectations. I would not do this. And these only create viral news stories that are not necessarily in your favor. It makes you look a little weird. So don't do sandwich signs. A little note on some of the old methods, like especially if you're applying for opportunities in much older or old school type of countries. This is true of Germany, Austria, Italy, a lot of Southern Europe. Fax your resume in. Like a lot of these companies still use fax machines. Like in the modern era, it doesn't even make sense to me. It's baffling. But yeah, you can do this online. The other kind of non-digital route of doing that is to basically send out a handwritten note. So these are different services that I believe it's under $1 for most of them to send out a handwritten note that is actually delivered to the company's headquarters. I would not put too much effort into this. I don't think it's terribly scalable, but these do work. And by the way, I've included a resource so that if you want to see the specific examples and read up on these stories, then you can do that. If you really want to try the fax method, please let me know how that goes. I don't think it's a viable way of really getting in front of people. To me, it indicates like really old school thinking. But yeah, there's the handwritten services. Here's the free fax stuff. You can create tons of memes. There's different editing tools, memes again, more memes, posting with AI, like a lot of decent stuff in there. The creative, gimmicky job hacks, I've included all the examples here. And yeah, again, like don't do the stuff below this line, the sandwich board and like the billboard stuff, but everything above that, like give it a shot. Why not? Worst case scenario, you dropped 15, 20, $30 and you found out like, okay, this isn't scalable, it's not for me. Your goal is to get meetings. Let's not get it twisted up. So, if you can find an angle that you're willing to put a little bit of time into in order to demonstrate your creativity, help you stand out from the mass of other people that are trying to get that job, it would potentially behoove you to make the effort. I don't know why a lot of people are avoiding that. I think a lot of people are avoiding this concept that happens a lot, at least within marketing, where the most demotivational thing in the world is putting a ton of time, effort, and energy into something that never sees the light of day or has no real world value. You have to let go of that sometimes and do things that don't scale in order to see a unique angle take off. So again, I have linked to all of the gimmicky and unique angle examples. Feel free to check them out. I think it's a really cool way of thinking about approaching this stuff.